up, you guys? It's your girl Jasmine Travels, and I'm back with another video for you all. So today I actually wanted to talk a little bit about what was the hardest part about me moving to a different country. And I know I kind of get this question a lot, especially now with me moving to Spain, because it is a lot different. Like before I moved to England and there wasn't anything as difficult as like the change of language and things like that. Like of course moving to England, the English is different, and there also is a culture shock, like a difference in culture from American culture. But moving to Spain was a whole different level just because of the fact that there is a completely different language for starters that, for one, I do not speak, and then two, there's also still the culture shock that you have to go through. So those being the top things for me, the first being the fact that there's a language difference, like complete language difference, and me not being fluent in that language. It definitely made it difficult for me to fully just open up and be open to exploring when I first got here, because with there being a difference in language, I didn't feel very confident in trying to communicate, asking people if they spoke English. I didn't want to come off as rude, because if you're in a different place and they speak a different language, I feel like, me personally, I feel like it's just mostly respectful to at least say hello and ask them if they speak the language that I speak in their language. Like, I don't want to come off as, I speak English, so you need to be able to speak English. Like, that's never the vibe I want to give. So me coming into this country, I've always just wanted to be like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Okay, mi español es muy mal. Hablas inglés? You know, just trying to come off as respectful as possible, using their language as much as I could, which made me want to like actually go out a little bit less and was more hesitant to go out and just try new places, because most people don't speak English. Like, I don't live like in an area where, in some areas there's more people you will meet that speak English than others. In the area I live in, yes, there's a lot of people that speak English, luckily, but there's also a lot of people that don't speak English. So because of that, I can say yes, my Spanish has improved quite a bit, but I could also say it just took me a long time to get comfortable going out. Like, from going out to a restaurant, like your waitress or waiter is probably not going to just speak English fluently. Like if they do speak English, it's probably they'll just be like, oh, just a little bit, just a little bit. So I would still have to use Spanish as much as I could. So that definitely kind of made me nervous about trying new things for sure. And so when I first got here, like first got off the plane, of course in the airport there's like signs in different languages, but I could not find where things were. And when I first got here, my Spanish level was at like the lowest it's been. So it was super hard for me to be able to find out where things were, and everyone that I approached in the airport did not speak English, like nobody. So I was like trying to ask, like, oh, where do you find this bus? I need to find the bus that goes to the train station. Where do you find this bus? And everyone's just like, I don't speak English, I don't speak English. So I'm over here like showing them pictures on my phone, trying to translate things, and it's just like so confusing. And in that moment, I just got so hesitant to like, I was like, oh my gosh, everywhere I go is gonna be just like this. Like no one's gonna understand me. My Spanish is so bad. Like even the Spanish I do know, my accent is probably making it sound so bad. So they're probably just like, what is this girl talking about? Like it was just like, oh, like I was already nervous, and it was just kind of like making it so much worse because of the fact that nobody understood me what I was trying to say. But eventually I understood someone enough to be able to figure out where the bus was. Luckily enough, I got the bus and I was able to get to the train station. Now the train station happened all over again because I was trying to figure out I was going to the right place. But luckily I did find someone who spoke English, and they're just like, oh yeah, you go up here and then your train's gonna be over there. And I was like, oh thank God, because I was afraid I was gonna go through the whole thing again, miss my train or something. Like that would have been like the worst thing, all because I couldn't communicate with people around me. It just made me so nervous. Like it just made me so nervous. But I will say it's not the worst thing in the world. I feel like me being nervous made it worse. You could probably just like use your phone. They were really polite. Like I just used my phone to translate and then it would be okay. But I was just so nervous, I'd like freak out and I'd just be like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I just need to find this. Like, I don't know. So if you just look up common phrases before you go somewhere, like if you know you're gonna say like, oh, how do you find this? Where would this be located? Like, I need to find this bus. If I would have looked this up beforehand, I could have been there a bit more prepared, and then I probably wouldn't have been struggling so much. So prior planning prevents poor performance. Okay guys, like let's just keep that in mind. All right, but after that happened, I was just kind of a bit more nervous about going to different places, especially when it came to doing things like business, because while I'm here, of course I have to do things like get my residency card. I have to do things that involve me going to government buildings. So every time I do something like that, I get super nervous because I just start to think about how when I first got here, I was trying to make it through the airport and make it through the train station, and I struggled, and it just makes me super nervous. So yeah, one of the hardest things about moving to a different country, if there's a different language, for me is definitely the change in language. That's the #1 thing. Number 2 for me, like I said, is culture shock. It probably didn't hit me as bad here because of the fact that I already was like expecting a big culture shock because of my experience with me living in England. I expected it to be like way crazier here just because of like, once again, the language difference. So not able to fully communicate what things are different and what to expect. Like I just expected it to be way crazier. And I think because I expected it to be so much crazier, like it didn't make it as hard this time around. But it definitely was still a shock for me. Some things here I'm just like, oh my gosh, like why is it like this? This is so annoying. Like they have this whole like tranquila lifestyle here in Spain, which normally it would be so nice. Like you'd be like, oh, I can like get with this. This is nice. Not everyone's like rushing all the time. Like everything's more laid back. It's more chill. But I'm just coming from a place where everything's just like, do it now, right now. Do this, do this, do this. And especially when it comes to like business, it's like handle your business first. Do this right now. Blah, 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 blah. Like even to a point where I would do work and stuff on the weekends. Like that's very normal to do work on weekends. Here, it's like the weekend, it's like, no work. Don't talk about work at like gatherings and like functions. Like if we're outside of work, we're not talking about work. And it's just, that's like one of the main things you do like in the States. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, like if you go to a party, you're talking to somebody, it's like, oh, what do you do for a living? Where do you work? And here it's just like, we don't talk about work. Like talk about work? Like no. So it's just very different. And then like government buildings are way more like chill, like lax. Like it's crazy. Like I went to a building one time and I was a bit late for my appointment because my appointment paper told me to go to one place, and then they told me that I had to go to this other place. Just miscommunication, I guess. But when I got there, they were just like, oh, we've already like turned off the computers, things are shut down for the day. And I was just like, well, I'm only a little bit late because I got sent to the wrong place. They're like, oh, no problem, just set up a new appointment. And I was just like, you guys aren't supposed to close until 3. It's 2:30. Like, why are you guys already closing? They're just like, we have no more appointments. We didn't know you were coming. We've already shut things down. Just make another appointment. And I'm just like, that's very annoying. To me, that's very annoying. Here, it might just be like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll just make another appointment, come back. It's no big deal. But for me, it was like, I don't want to come back. I'm already here. Like, this isn't my fault. Like, you guys should be like fixing it for me, right? Because it's not my fault. But no, it's not how it is. And that kind of leads into my next thing. I think it's like just the American mindset of like, the customer's always right. Like, I don't think that's a big thing here. Especially because they don't work for things like, in restaurants, so they don't work for like tips. They don't have to like necessarily like cater to you as heavy. So then there's also here, there's siesta. So in the middle of the day, it's very chill vibes. Everything kind of like closes, and that was super hard for me. It's not so much happening now because of COVID. Things have to close early, like around 6 or so. The times keep changing due to updates. But so there's not much of siesta in the middle of the day because everything closes so early. But when I first got here, everything closed in the middle of the day. And it drove me insane because it was like the time where I would get off of work and come here. It's like, oh, I want to go run here and do this. And it's like, oh, well, you can't because that's closed until like 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening. And I'm just like, what? Why is that closed right now? Like, this is so strange. And it's like, yeah, it's siesta. So you go home, you chill, like, and things will open back up later. And it's just like, what? It blew my mind. So it's just like a big thing. Siesta's a thing. Everything shuts down, everything slows down, and you're just like, wow, this is so crazy. So when I say things like culture shock, it's just things that I had to get used to that happen here on a day-to-day basis that I've never had to experience before. But that also is one reason why I love living in other countries versus just visiting them for a couple of days. You get to really experience like the full-blown culture. You get to see how many things are so different, especially like when you try to engage with people who are from here or from whatever country. that you go to, it's just very cool to be able to learn about the place that they're from. So I can't say that the language and the cultural difference are two of the hardest things that for me to adjust to when I'm here, but at the same time I would say they're like two of like the best parts about moving out of the country, because one, my Spanish from when I first got here has tremendously gotten like way better. I still can't speak Spanish, but if I wanted to ask where something was and if someone were to say something to me to let me know, like give me directions or something, I can understand way more now than I could when I first got here. Like now, I hold small conversations with people who only speak Spanish, like, oh, you don't speak English, it's fine. I can attempt to speak to you as long as we just have our conversation very slowly. And in the beginning, it's just like, they would say something to me and it's just like, nothing. I understand nothing. So it's definitely a change and it's a great improvement, and that much I do love. And then the cultural difference, I am truly enjoying learning about the culture. Like without COVID, I feel like I could learn way more, way faster, which would be probably more of a shock. Like COVID might have actually helped the shock not be as harsh this time as well. But I have to say, like, I truly just, it's really cool to get to learn about these different things here. So two hard things about moving, but they're also two of like the most educational parts about living in a different country. I can't really say, like other people might say like meeting people might be difficult. Meeting more people who are from Spain is like adjusting to the food or adjusting their diet might be difficult too. And just other little things, but for me, it's definitely language and the culture shock. Also, the time difference, like I am 6 hours ahead of Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I'm from. So it makes it kind of hard to talk to like family or friends when I actually want to talk to them versus when I'm at home. And also when they try to talk to me, it's kind of hard for them. If you're gonna talk to anybody on the West Coast, like California, it's a 9-hour time difference. So the time difference is also something else that can be super difficult about living somewhere that's so far from home. And another thing that can be very hard is just missing your friends and family, missing big things that are happening in their life. Like I miss out on a lot of stuff that's happening at home because I'm somewhere completely different. And also with it being COVID, I can't just fly home and be like, oh, let me just come home and be there for him because my little cousin's gonna be born. Oh, let me just fly home so I don't have to miss like Christmas. Like, no, you can't do that. Like I have to stay here. So that is definitely something that can be hard. Also, what else can be hard is not having all of your things. Like I've only brought 2 suitcases and a carry-on. That's all I had. All my life had to fit into that. So I definitely had to leave a lot of stuff at home. And sometimes you're just like, dang, I wish I could have brought this. Dang, I wish I could have had that. Oh, it'd be so great if I had all my shoes. So there's a lot of things that you can look into that's gonna be hard, but there's way, if I have to make a list of all the pros and cons, the pros would definitely outweigh the cons, which is why I just keep moving. I have this urge to just like want to move to all these different places. There's definitely pros outweighing cons when it comes to these situations. It's definitely things to think about if you're thinking about moving out of the country. Now, but this video is just talking about the hardest things. So if you guys also want me to make a video talking about the best parts, even though I feel like I might have said that in the other videos briefly, but it's never been focused on. So if you guys want me to sit down and talk about the best parts about moving to another country, let me know in the comments below. And that way I'll just make a whole video talking about the best parts about moving to another country instead of dwelling on the negative things and the hardest parts about moving to a different country. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here in my video. Let me know if this video helped you out, and if you're excited to see more of this content or want to see more of this content, go ahead and subscribe. I post videos every week. So thanks for joining in, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.